Thought 15. Fear. When I was a kid, my dad told me that the only thing in the world I needed to fear was him. This statement made me do everything in respect to him, because I could escape the world's punishment by going home, but I can't escape my dad's punishment. My dad used to punch me, never enough to knock me over, but always enough to hurt more than any other pain I was experiencing at that age. Unless he was really mad, then he would wait till I walked away, then kick but to make me fall over. As a child, I of course hated getting beat, but if my father wasn't the ruffian I wouldn't have become a fearless person. As a child, I saw that every problem I had could be solved by, or had become irrelevant in comparison to my dad. Thinking back, there was one event that I think is the reason I stopped feeling fear. This was the first and only time I ever sleepwalked that I can remember. But for some reason I walked all the way to the downstairs bathroom just to pee in the trash can and fall asleep on the toilet. Then I woke up to my dad punching me and throwing me on the floor and yelling. Really, all I remember is pain and confusion. Nothing ever matched the shock I felt that morning, thus I grew up not being afraid of anything. Then eventually I was able to rationalize fear instead of just not feeling it because of trauma. So how does one go about rationalizing fear? Well, for me it was a matter of realizing that no matter how much I thought, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Instead of thinking about possible outcomes, I think of the singular most favorable outcome, then do what I can to get that outcome, and if there is nothing I can do, then I don't worry about it. This worked for me, but when I discussed fears with my ex, I realized that fear is not so simple for others. I grew up with a singular fear that was able to block out all other fears until I wasn't able to feel fear. But other people have many fears growing up, and they reinforce them until they fear without thinking. Phobias are irrational fears, but technically all fear except when you are directly being threatened is irrational. I was originally going to try to finish this chapter with a cure to fear, but that is impossible because fear is not an affliction. It is a system that was developed to keep us safe. So why does it appear that fear is a problem? I think it is because we were not taught how to fear properly. But I will leave that for the education chapter where I talk about emotional stability. But I will instead end this chapter with a solution for the individual. You must ask yourself if the thing you fear is directly stopping you from doing what you have to do. If it is not stopping you, then it is an irrational fear. Once you realize the irrationality of a fear, you start having more rational thoughts about the fear until you have a healthy relationship with the thing you fear. If the thing you fear is directly stopping you, then you just have to use whatever common sense you have to not die, GLHF. But of course this advice is very generic because I'm too lazy to write out every scenario that I can think of, and you can only stop fearing something if you want to stop fearing it. But really you should want to eliminate all your fears except for the fear of imminent harm. I think you can be cautious and not take extra risk, but the only time you should actually feel fear is when you are in danger.